Hello everyone, you're watching the channel Military TV. What's the difference between soldiers, troops, and service members? Are Coast Guardsmen sailors? Are they Navy personnel at all? Do these guys really prefer to be called seamen? There's a lot of terminology to get straight, but still, it's not that hard, and frankly, we're tired of seeing anything with more than 2 inches of armor being described as a tank. Today we'll show you the differences between US military tanks and armored vehicles. So here's a quick primer on America's only current tank, and a whole bunch of armored vehicles that are not tanks. LAV-25. This is another armored vehicle that swims across open ocean. Used primarily by the US Marine Corps, it has a 25mm chain gun and some light armor, but it's still underpowered and under-armored compared to main tanks. But the easiest way to tell the LAV-25 from a tank is that it has rubber road wheels instead of metal ones on treads. In fact, lots of armored platforms that are sometimes described as tanks are rolling on rubber road wheels, something tanks don't do. So just like the LAV-25, Army Strykers are not tanks, nor are any of the lighter vehicles like Humvees, m-atvs, or m-atvs. Amphibious Assault Vehicle. These monstrosities are pretty sweet. They're swimming armored vehicles with treads and the ability to carry up to 25 combat-equipped infantrymen, nearly always Marines. But their primary offensive armament is a 50 caliber machine gun or a 40mm grenade launcher, a far cry from the cannons used on tanks, especially the 120mm on the Abrams. They also have armor that's perpendicular to the ground, something that tank designers avoid in key areas since it helps the enemy round penetrate during fights. The Assault Amphibious Vehicle, AAV, official designation AAVP-7A1, formerly known as Landing Vehicle, Tracked Personal 7, abbreviated LVTP-7, is a fully tracked amphibious landing vehicle manufactured by U.S. Combat Systems, previously by United Defense, a former division of FMC Corporation. The AAVP-7/A1 is the current amphibious troop transport of the United States Marine Corps. It is used by the U.S. Marine Corps Assault Amphibian Battalions to land the surface assault elements of the landing force and their equipment in a single lift from assault shipping during amphibious operations to inland objectives, and to conduct mechanized operations and related combat support in subsequent mechanized operations ashore. It is also operated by other forces. Marines call them Amtracs, a shortening of their original designation, Amphibious Tractor. In June 2018, the Marine Corps announced that they had selected the BAE Systems Iveco Wheeled Super AV for the Amphibious Combat Vehicle Program to supplement and ultimately replace the AAV. Bradley Infantry Fighting Vehicle. Confusing a Bradley Infantry Fighting Vehicle with a tank is pretty reasonable. It's armored, propels itself on 2 tracks, and is often seen with the explosive reactive armor common on the Abrams. It even has a free-turning turret like a tank and fights on the front lines. But the difference comes in the vehicle's mission and the size of the main cannon. Bradleys have lighter armor and a much smaller gun, typically 25mm, compared to the Abrams 120mm. They're made to move quickly on the battlefield and carry up to 8 infantrymen into combat, though other variants drop the infantry carrying capacity to serve other missions instead. To differentiate it from the Abrams, focus on the size, reduced armor, and the much smaller gun. The M133 Armored Personal Carrier is the predecessor to the Bradley. It also is not a tank. It's smaller, has less armor, and lacks a turret. Paladin self-propelled howitzer. Next, the Paladin. This is probably the most convincing of the non-tanks out there. It's significantly smaller than the Abrams and weighs less than half as much, but it is large, propels itself on 2 big tank treads, is well armored, and has a big gun. But it's the gun and the mission that makes this artillery instead of a tank. The 155mm howitzer is made to primarily fire in an indirect fire mode, arcing the shells over the battlefield instead of engaging directly, like an Abrams. Its armor and speed also aren't really up to snuff for direct combat. You can differentiate it from a tank by focusing on the arm that supports the cannon barrel, the smaller size, and the reduced armor. Especially important is the lack of explosive reactive armor, the boxy armor panels on the skirts of the Abrams tanks. M1150 Assault Breacher Vehicle. The M1150 Assault Breacher Vehicle, ABV, is a U.S. military mine and explosives clearing vehicle, based on the M1 Abrams chassis, equipped with a mine plow and line charges. These track combat vehicles were especially designed to clear pathways for troops and other vehicles through minefields and along roadside bombs and improvised explosive devices. The 72-ton, 40-foot, 15-meter-long vehicles are based on the M1 Abrams, with a 1,500-horsepower engine, but fitted with a 50-caliber machine gun and a front-mounted 15-foot, 4.5-meter wide plow, supported by metallic skis that glide on the dirt and armed with nearly 7,000 pounds, 3,175 kilograms of explosives. The breachers are equipped with a linear demolition charge system, LDCS, rockets carrying C4 explosives up to 100 and 150 yards forward, detonating hidden bombs at a safe distance so that the troops and vehicles can pass through safely. In the 1990s, the U.S. Army decided it could not afford to continue developing complicated maintenance-heavy vehicles for this purpose. The Grizzly program was canceled in 2001, and the prototype developed never made it to the production lines. The Marine Corps, however, persisted and funded its own development and testing. The main body of the final model of the ABV is built on the General Dynamics chassis that is used for the M1A1 Abrams main battle tank. Pearson Engineering of the UK provided the specially designed plow and the other mine-clearing accessories. M1 Abrams tank. The only current American military vehicle that is actually a tank. The M1 Abrams main battle tank. The first ones rolled out in 1976, but numerous upgrades have been made since. The baseline M1A2 tank uses advanced armor, reinforced with depleted uranium layers. The M1A2 SEP has a further upgraded depleted uranium armor components with graphite coating. Protection of this MBT is considered as one of the best in the world. The M1A2 SEP has significant level of protection against all known anti-tank weapons. It can also employ counter-IED equipment. Protection can be further increased with add-on explosive reactive armor. The tank is armored with the same M256 120mm smoothbore gun as its predecessor. Range of effective fire is in excess of 4 kilometers. It can fire the M829A3 APFSDS rounds with depleted uranium penetrator and M1028 canister rounds that discharge massive blasts of tungsten fragments at muzzle exit. This round has devastating lethality against assaulting infantry between a range of 200 to 500 meters. Ammunition for the main gun is stored in the turret bustle, fitted with blowout panels. This tank is fitted with a digital battlefield management system. It allows commanders to track friendly and hostile forces on the battlefield. The system is near real-time based. Locations of friendly vehicles are constantly updated. The system increases vehicle commanders' situational awareness. This tank is operated by a crew of 4, including commander, gunner, loader, and driver. Some upgrades were made to the power pack. The main battle tank is powered by a Honeywell AGT 1500 gas turbine engine, developing 1500 horsepower. This engine offers good performance. The gas turbine develops more horsepower than a comparable diesel. However, it is complex and requires tremendous amounts of maintenance, logistic support, and is thirsty on fuel. The engine operates primarily on diesel or jet fuel, but during emergencies can also operate on gasoline. A complete power pack can be removed and replaced within 30 minutes. The tank is also fitted with an auxiliary power unit. It powers all systems when the main battle engine is turned off. Transmission was upgraded for better durability, and it is worth noting that this tank is quiet in operation. This main battle tank can be airlifted by a C-5 Galaxy or C-17 Global Master III military transport aircraft. Thousands of them exist in the US arsenal, and hundreds more are in service around the world, mostly in places like Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and Australia. It's easy to pick out because of its large size, free-moving turret with a large gun, and massive tank treads that propel it across the ground. Tanks change. If all of this leaves you wondering what exactly a tank is, well, sorry, it's changed over time. But modern tanks are typically heavy armored vehicles with large guns, rotating turrets, and treads. They're designed to engage in direct combat with other forces, including enemy armor, by using their armor and the terrain for protection while firing their main gun as their primary offense. When dealing with anti-tank infantry, they may rely more heavily on their machine guns, but many countries field shotgun-like ammo for their tanks for this scenario. If it doesn't fit all of these categories, it's almost certainly an infantry fighting vehicle, self-propelled artillery, or similar platform.